we were dealing with, this is just private cracking of the hardware. So I had to, there are various sources of drivers for the Kinect itself. I ended up going to Breckle.com. It just has an auto loader of a driver set that works. So first I installed all those drivers, had to find some specification files that were just posted on various forums for the like the resolution and whatnot of the camera, just other minor specifications that allow it to work. What's next? Next, I downloaded OpenNI, which stands for Natural Interface. OpenNI is a group that creates software to use the Kinect. They end up with skeleton tracking that you can see in the top left frame. Maybe if you want to hop in there. First it'll detect a person in there. Then if you hold that pose, arms in the air, stick them up kind of pose, it will track a skeleton, map points to each joints, elbows, hands, shoulders, hips, knees, feet. After that, we needed software to send OSC, which is Open Sound Control data, into Max to allow it to communicate. That I found, OSkeleton is the software I used for that, or the way I used that. I had to go into it was like Visual C++ to actually compile the executable file. I had to find a trial version of Visual C++, then I had to compile this. Have to run this in through the command line just to get the proper OSC settings. It's like Quartz Composer settings. That translates the point data into Max. If you hop back in, I can show them the actual. Each of these is X, Y, and Z for every specific point, starting left hand, right hand, left elbow, left shoulder, left foot, right foot. And we use these in our various subpatches to trigger all of our sounds and our effects. I had to download a different library, or a new library for Max to get this to work. It's the CNMat library. It adds the OSC objects. The root joint, the OSC root is what we used, and the UDP receive, which is a main Max file, or a main Max object.
Then from there, there's a lot of plugging and figuring out your typical Max MSP. Like, I have a problem. How do I fix it? Like the frogs, we wanted them to go. So when I leave a certain area, that's when they go. So that's why every time I walk out, they keep going. We do little tricks like that.
Yeah, we found that since it always sends a 1 when you're in the box, it would kind of chirp at the beginning of a file. So what we did was we had a bit of a buffer, a no audio zone in most of these files where it could chirp there, and then once you leave the zone, it will trigger the file and let it play all the way through. Right now she's doing crickets, and that's mapped to elbows. So if you, yeah, you're tracked right now.
Okay. So we did proximity.
This is the first trick we did with proximity. We actually took the 2 joints and just subtracted them, so if they're within a certain limit, so if they're in a proximity to each other, they'll trigger this file. We had most of the rain and stuff triggered by both hands in a box in front of the face. Of course, I have a Mayday, which zeroes out everything, stops all the SF plays, except she keeps sending data to it. What else did we do? We had our one-off sounds, which are basically just need to be triggered every time you do the motion. We're going to do thunder. You're still covered.
Okay.
Yep.
Thunder.
Yep. So we have thunder active for all the time that her feet are within this bottom range. As soon as she jumps and leaves that range, the thunder triggers and plays all the way through. It can happen as quickly as she can do that. And you can kind of hear the chirp if you jump higher.
Well,
Here.
Tim can jump much higher than I can. But when his feet are up, because we programmed it to the feet, it chirps when it's up there.
Yeah, you're tracking.
Yeah, you're checked. So there you can hear because he can jump much higher.
So it's timed so that it will flap when it lands.
And we did that. That was manipulating the audio. I went into Pro Tools and found one that had the suck of the lightning at the beginning and just edited it right till there. So that way when you jump and land, I was literally in the studio pressing to test about a good spot for it. That's all the other thunder is in the sound, is in with the rain.
Open up the rain factor so they can see. I'm going to actually show the
You bring the levels down.
left.
Bring the levels down. We had each hand mapped for rain. The left hand starts the soundtrack as well. We just went ahead and threw it in there. You can see that if we want to bring up the volume, on either side, we've got it patched. So your hands are actually the sliders. Which you can see them here moving with his hand.
And that doesn't matter. That's just why I have my hand be over here and over right.
Yep. Stubborn hand. We did, just want to lay down. To kill the patch, we programmed it into the shoulders, and then I went through and just made a counter, and it just counts down and on those sliders, and it brings it down, and once it hits 0, it hits our reset button and stops everything. But we did.
I think we can cover looping just a bit. We did have some issue with sounds that needed to be looped. Like
Yeah.
What was it, crickets or?
We ended up doing those as a one-off.
Oh, we did.
I think we did everything as a one-off. Our loops were all faked.
Yeah.
Because the rain was just so long that it appears to be looped, and since each hand actually has the same audio file, but when you bring the hands out at separate times, it's the same storm, so it sounds homogeneous, but so if it has like a thunder roll 5 seconds in, it's going to do 5 seconds into this one, and then the thunder appears to roll along because this hand didn't fire yet.
It added a nice aesthetic panning.
If
to the-
we had more time, we probably would have done more channels to get a full rolling effect. But yeah, and I did different things with the panning. Do you want to do
show the
frogs
birds.
or crickets?
Oh yeah. Don't forget the birds. I want to show them. I covered.
Yep. So, like I said, crickets were, and just
Frogs are not their shoulders.
they're panned a little bit more. Just to give, again, a sense of motion. We didn't want it to be static. You want to do coming out of each speaker. The other frog is out of both speakers, actually.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
And
The
it's
thing
actually a
doesn't-
file that plays longer if we want to just sit and let it go.
Yeah,
But it will.
Yeah, it'll go with you. So since it's so close, so to be able to actually hop was really fun. I think that one was hips, because once we went down.
Did we? No, I think we did shoulders because
Mhm.
hips ended up being. I don't remember.
We did hips or shoulders, because shoulders was laid down. When we laid down, we had to map it to just one of the shoulders. The birds was fun. We actually had 4 different bird sounds from the same, just freesounds.org, from the same contributor. So there's a sound here. You want to do just your left hand upper sound? And there's one below that. And then he's got one on his other hand, the upper. You can find it, and then the lower. And we had to make those so small because can you make it chirp? If you stay within there, it'll just keep cracking. But if you're flapping like a bird's, then you get all those ambient noises all together and they combine.
Check me in the frame. That's one of the drawbacks is the spacing has to be very measured. We were going from the edge of that table to behind.
Probably a little bit that way. I'll try. There you go.
Nope, still behind this.
Step closer. And that, yeah, there's a lot of hit and miss, and that's why we had to.
Yeah, we would have if we taped out the floor, but.
But then you end up with a big, obvious giveaway of how everything works. What else do we not cover yet? I think that's all of our.
Did you show the birds so they can see their indentation?
Oh, yeah.
We actually have it cycling through different segments of the bird recording, just with Seeks connected to a metro and a counter.
And then we just went in here. And that's our random patcher. Just goes through to both of them.
Changes the message.
So they didn't sound, because they started to sound like they were looped. They started to actually have rhythmic patterns. And we wanted it to be as ambient as
That way, if
possible.
I keep flapping like this, it's not going to sound like it's just.
It's not gonna
It's not going to be
hip hop
too
birds.
rhythmic. It's going to have a bit of a breakup in the.
We did birds, the randomizer. I believe that's all of our sounds.